Ladies, sit up straight, fix your crown, and really hear me right now. Because today, I'm about to walk you through something that every woman, yes, every woman has felt at some point. A man who suddenly pulls back, goes quiet, switches up, changes tone, and leaves you wondering what you did wrong. Let me tell you something right now. You didn't do a damn thing wrong. But the moment he pulls away, most women make the same mistake. You chase him emotionally. You over-explain. You try to fix what you didn't break. You start performing for a man who ain't even watching. Not today, not after this message, because I'm about to teach you the real game. When he pulls away, pause. Don't panic. Ladies, listen to me closely, because this one truth right here will change your entire emotional life if you let it. When a man pulls away, when his energy shifts, when his calls slow down, when his texts get shorter, when his tone becomes different, when he stops initiating the way he used to, your first instinct is almost always the same: panic. Your mind jumps straight into survival mode. You start thinking something is wrong with you. Something is falling apart. Something is slipping through your fingers. But that reaction, those anxious thoughts, that emotional urgency is exactly what makes women lose their power in relationships. Not the distance, not the silence, not the shift, but the panic. What I want you to understand, really understand deep in your bones, is that when a man pulls away, the very first thing you must do is pause, not react, not chase, not explain, not beg for clarity, not force conversation, not interrogate him, not try to glue the situation back together. You must pause, breathe, and remain still for a moment, because your pause is your protection. Your pause is where you regain your control. Your pause is what keeps you from acting out of fear instead of acting out of strength. See, the reason most women panic is because they immediately assume the distance is their fault. You start overanalyzing every word you said, every move you made, every text you sent. Did I say something wrong? Did I come off too strong? Did I push him away? Did he lose interest? Is he talking to someone else? Your mind becomes a battlefield of worst-case scenarios, and that chaos pushes you into emotional overdrive. But here's the truth Steve Harvey would tell you. His withdrawal is not always about you. Men pull back for many reasons, and most of them have absolutely nothing to do with your worth. Sometimes he's overwhelmed. Sometimes he's trying to process his emotions. Sometimes he's scared because he's feeling things he didn't expect to feel. Sometimes he's testing your reaction without even meaning to. And sometimes he's simply dealing with his own stress, pressure, insecurities, or confusion. But when you panic, you create a problem that didn't exist. You start calling too much, texting too often, explaining too deeply, questioning too intensely. You shift from being the confident, glowing woman he was drawn to into someone who looks afraid of losing him. And nothing pushes a man further than panic-driven energy. That sudden neediness, that emotional urgency, that fear-based reaction, it suffocates the connection instead of saving it. Men don't respond to panic. They respond to presence. They respond to confidence. They respond to calm. They respond to a woman who can hold her emotional ground. So when he pulls away, your pause says something powerful. I'm not threatened. I trust myself. I'm not chasing you. I'm not begging for reassurance. I am centered. I am grounded. I am secure within myself. That energy is magnetic. That energy separates you from the pack. That energy makes a man stop and think, damn, she didn't crumble. She didn't cling. She didn't lose herself. She must really know her worth. It makes him question his own distance instead of making you question your value. Your pause also gives you clarity. When you don't panic, you can observe his behavior for what it is, not what your fear is trying to convince you it means. You can ask yourself, is he dealing with something? Is he overwhelmed? Is this a pattern? Is he pulling away temporarily or consistently? Is this about him or about the connection as a whole? You make decisions from a place of strength, not insecurity. You allow the truth to reveal itself naturally instead of forcing an outcome out of desperation. Pausing doesn't mean you're ignoring the situation. It means you're giving space. Space for him to gather himself. Space for you to regulate your emotions. Space for the connection to breathe. And space for the truth to rise to the surface without you chasing it. Because one thing is certain. Any man worth your time will never let distance become disconnection. If he values you, he will come back with effort, real effort, not crumbs. So when he pulls away, let the world watch you stay still. Let your strength speak louder than your fear. Let your calm be your power. Because the woman who can pause, the woman who doesn't panic, the woman who can hold her emotional composure, that woman is unforgettable. That woman is rare. That woman is the one men respect. And that woman, you never loses herself just because someone else got quiet. Do not try to fix him. Fix your energy. Ladies, let me break something down for you in a way that hits home. Because too many women are losing themselves in this exact moment. When a man begins to pull away, most women automatically flip into repair mode. You turn into the emotional mechanic, the problem solver, the healer, the comforter, the therapist, all rolled into one. You start analyzing his behavior, diagnosing his silence, trying to soothe his moods, and bending yourself into shapes just to bring him back to balance. But hear me clearly. You are not responsible for fixing his emotions, his confusion, his insecurity, or his internal storms. When a man pulls away, it is not an invitation for you to tighten your grip on him. It is not a request for you to comfort him into being present. It is not a signal that you must soften every edge of yourself to make sure he doesn't drift further. Many women believe that if they just say the right words, give the right reassurance, act more loving, become more understanding, or offer more emotional labor, they can pull him back in. But that mindset will drain your spirit faster than anything else. Let me tell you something real and raw. You cannot heal a man who is disconnected from himself. You cannot force openness from someone who doesn't want to talk. You cannot drag clarity out of someone who hasn't even sorted through their own thoughts. You cannot sue a man who hasn't chosen to be emotionally available. And if you try, you will lose your peace before you ever gain his presence. Instead of fixing him, what you must fix, what you can fix, is your energy. When a man pulls back, your nervous system can go into overdrive. You start feeling anxious, unwanted, confused, or insecure. Your energy shifts into stress, and that stress pushes you to take actions you regret later. That's why the moment he withdraws, you must turn inward. You must check in with yourself, not with him. You must stabilize your energy, not his emotions. Fixing your energy means anchoring yourself back into your own power. It means calming your mind, grounding your spirit, and reconnecting with the version of you who existed before his silence started impacting your peace. It means remembering your worth doesn't fluctuate based on another person's mood. It means pulling back emotionally, not as a tactic, not as punishment, but as protection. It means choosing to take care of your heart instead of trying to rescue a man from himself. This is where your strength becomes visible. This is where your emotional maturity rises. This is where your self-worth shows. Because a woman who can regulate her energy, even when her connection feels uncertain, is a woman operating from true feminine power. She doesn't scramble for validation. She doesn't chase clarity. She doesn't beg for reassurance. She centers herself. She chooses peace. She chooses alignment. She focuses on her own emotional well-being. You fix your energy by returning to what fills you: your work, your hobbies, your friendships, your routines, your self-care, your purpose, your boundaries. You take the focus off him and put it back where it belongs, on you. Because when your energy shifts from anxious to aligned, from dependent to grounded, from reactive to empowered, something incredible happens. You stop trying to hold on to someone who isn't reaching back. Men can sense energy more than words. They feel the difference between a woman who needs them to act right so she can feel okay and a woman who feels okay within herself regardless of what they do. The second woman, the grounded woman, the woman who tends to her own emotional garden, is the one who commands respect without asking for it. Fixing your energy also teaches you discernment. When you're calm and centered, you can see whether his pulling away is temporary or a deeper pattern. You can observe without absorbing. You can feel without falling apart. You can notice without trying to control. You move from reaction to response, from panic to perspective, from fixing him to honoring yourself. And let me make one thing clear. A man who genuinely values you will be drawn back to your calm energy. He will feel the difference between your peaceful strength and the frantic pull he's used to. But even if he doesn't return, your energy remains intact. And that is the real victory, because no relationship is worth sacrificing your inner stability, and no man is worth abandoning yourself for. So remember this: you were never meant to fix him. You were meant to stay aligned with you. Shift from chasing to valuing. Ladies, this is where everything changes for you. Right here in this one shift of mindset, this one shift of energy, this one shift in how you see yourself. Because when a man pulls away, most women naturally move into emotional pursuit. You start chasing his approval, chasing his attention, chasing his clarity, chasing his love. Not physically chasing him down the street, but emotionally chasing him. You chase through overthinking, through over-explaining, through over-loving, through over-giving, through over-proving. You start doing the emotional heavy lifting, hoping that if you just give a little more, he'll see your worth and come closer. But let me tell you something real, something. Steve Harvey would say directly to you: men don't fall for the woman who chases. They fall for the woman who values herself. When you start chasing, you step out of your power. You step out of your grace. You step out of your feminine strength. You turn a connection into a mission. You turn love into a task. You turn yourself into an option disguised as effort. Chasing is rooted in fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of not being enough. Fear of being abandoned. Fear of being replaced. Fear that you won't find someone else. Fear that this is your last chance. And anything built on fear becomes unstable, shaky, unsteady. You can't hold a relationship together with anxious energy, but valuing. Valuing is rooted in worth. When you value yourself, you don't negotiate with disrespect, distance, or inconsistency. You don't lower your standards just to keep someone close. You don't put yourself last to make someone feel comfortable. You don't trade your voice for his attention or your dignity for his validation. You don't sacrifice your peace just so he won't walk away. Shifting from chasing to valuing is one of the most powerful transformations a woman can make. It moves you out of desperation and into alignment. It moves you out of fear and into self-respect. It moves you out of emotional chaos and into emotional confidence. And the moment you shift, the whole dynamic changes. Not because you're manipulating him, but because you're rediscovering you. A woman who values herself doesn't try to convince a man to choose her. She doesn't audition for the role of the one. She doesn't fight for someone who's not fighting for her. She doesn't chase after someone who is emotionally sprinting in the opposite direction. She stands firmly in who she is. She stands firmly in what she wants. She stands firmly in what she deserves. Valuing yourself means that when he pulls away, you don't lose your balance. You don't start spiraling. You don't fall apart. You lean into your life. You invest in your routines, your friendships, your passions, your peace. You keep moving. You keep glowing. You keep choosing you. And that shift, oh, trust me, he feels that shift. Men are attracted to women who don't abandon themselves for love. Men are drawn to women who hold their ground. Men respect women who remain whole even when the relationship enters uncertainty. Because a woman who values herself is a woman who communicates without saying a word. My love is a blessing, not a compromise. When you stop chasing, your energy becomes magnetic. You stop moving toward him. And suddenly he starts noticing the space between you. Suddenly he starts paying attention. Suddenly he starts wondering why you're not trying harder. Suddenly he realizes the value of a woman who isn't desperately pulling him in, but confidently standing where she is. And here's the truth. If he truly cares, he will move towards you. Not because you pressured him, but because your value commands effort. And if he doesn't move towards you, then you still won, because you didn't lose yourself in the process. You didn't sacrifice your worth. You didn't shrink into someone smaller just to keep a man who wasn't meant for you. Chasing leads to losing yourself. Valuing leads to finding your power. So shift into your confidence. Shift into your standards. Shift into your self-respect. Shift into your peace. Shift from chasing a man to choosing yourself. Because the moment you choose you, everything and everyone responds differently. Mirror his distance with dignity. Ladies, listen to me and let this sink deep into your spirit, because this is one of the most misunderstood parts of dating and relationships. When a man starts pulling back, when he becomes distant, when he stops showing up with the same consistency he once had, the average woman tries to close the gap. She moves closer. She texts more. She calls more. She checks in more. She tries harder to pull him back because she thinks the distance means she needs to compensate. But here's the truth. Every woman must learn. The correct response to a man's distance is not chasing. It's mirroring. Not out of pettiness, not out of revenge, not to teach him a lesson, but out of dignity. Mirroring his distance means matching his energy with grace, not emotion. If he slows down, you slow down. If he takes space, you allow space. If he stops initiating, you stop initiating. You aren't punishing him. You are simply reflecting what he has shown you. This keeps you from overinvesting, overgiving, and overstretching yourself in a situation that may not currently deserve that level of effort. It also allows you to protect your heart without shutting it off. You're not giving up. You're giving space. See, most women mistake mirroring for playing games. But this isn't a game. Games are rooted in manipulation. Mirroring is rooted in respect for him and for yourself. When a man pulls away, the worst thing you can do is react with emotional intensity. That pressure, that panic, that neediness, that over-effort, it suffocates the energy of the connection. Men don't respond well when they feel cornered or overwhelmed. They respond when they feel the natural consequences of their actions. Not anger, not punishment, but neutrality. And that's what dignity looks like. Neutrality, not desperation. You're not angry. You're not dramatic. You're not begging. You're not questioning. You're not lecturing. You simply adjust. You step back into your own life, your own rhythm, your own peace. You don't rush to feel the silence. You let the silence speak. You don't rush to pull him closer. You let the distance show you what's real. Men notice this kind of energy. They feel it deeply. They're used to women chasing, explaining, clarifying, fixing. But a woman who mirrors his distance with calm self-respect, that's a woman who stands out. That's a woman who communicates one powerful message without saying anything at all. I am not going to chase you to keep me. If you want a place in my life, you show up for it. This kind of woman forces a man to evaluate his actions. Suddenly, he feels the space he created. Suddenly, he notices the absence of your effort. Suddenly, he becomes aware that he might lose something valuable. And trust me, men think differently when they fear loss instead of assuming your presence. A man who cares will feel that space and move back towards you. He will step up not because you pushed him, but because the contrast woke him up. But here's where the dignity part really matters. You don't mirror his distance with coldness or attitude. You do it with poise. You remain kind but not overly available. You remain warm but not overly invested. You remain receptive but not overly giving. Your energy stays balanced, not reactive. You're still you. You're just not chasing connection that isn't being reciprocated. When you mirror with dignity, you also give yourself time to observe. Is this man pulling away temporarily, or is this who he truly is? Is he just overwhelmed, or is he unreliable? Is he emotionally processing or emotionally unavailable? Is he coming back stronger or fading for good? When you stop chasing, you finally get to see his real intentions because you remove your effort from the equation. And this is the beauty of mirroring distance with dignity. You allow the truth to reveal itself. You allow him to show you who he is. You allow the connection to unfold naturally. You allow yourself to stay in your power. And if he doesn't return with effort, then his distance becomes the blessing that exposes the reality you needed to see. Because any man who truly wants you will bridge the gap he created. Any man who genuinely cares will move toward you. Any man who respects you will not be comfortable with the space between you and the man who doesn't. You won't have to walk away with heartbreak because your dignity already did the work for you. So mirror his distance, hold your head high, protect your energy, and let your dignity speak louder than your desire to keep him close. Protect your heart. Don't prove your worth. Ladies, this is one of the most important lessons you will ever learn in love, relationships, and even in the quiet moments when you're alone with your thoughts. You were not put on this earth to prove your worth to anyone. Not to a man, not to a relationship, not to someone who's unsure, not to someone who's inconsistent, and definitely not to someone whose actions make you question your value. When a man pulls away, so many women shift into performance mode. You start trying to show him you're loyal, show him you're patient, show him you're supportive, show him you're different, show him you're valuable. You start giving more, loving harder, bending deeper, trying to make him see what he already should have seen from the beginning. But proving yourself is a fast track to losing yourself. Let me tell you something real. A man who needs proof will never appreciate your real worth. A man who's unsure will always move the goalpost. A man who requires effort you can't sustain will drain you instead of loving you. And a man who is emotionally distant cannot be pulled closer by your overgiving. Women often think if I show him I'm everything he needs, he'll come back. But that's not how love works. That's not how respect works. That's not how connection works. When someone pulls back, you don't lean in. You protect your heart. Protecting your heart means recognizing that your emotional safety matters. Your peace matters. Your dignity matters. Your self-respect matters. You matter. Protecting your heart means you stop offering love as a transaction. You stop giving in hopes of receiving. You stop pouring into someone who won't even hold the cup steady. You stop picking up a sword for someone who wouldn't pick up a feather for you. Women have been conditioned to believe that proving yourself is the path to being chosen. But chosen women are not chosen because they perform. They're chosen because they were themselves whole, confident, aligned, respectful of their own emotional boundaries. The moment you start trying to win a man's love, you lose your natural power. Authentic love isn't earned through effort. It's recognized through alignment. Protecting your heart also means honoring your boundaries. When a man pushes away instead of proving your ride or die, you hold your line. You don't beg for connection. You don't lower your standards. You don't tolerate emotional crumbs just to keep him in your life. You don't shrink your needs to fit his temporary discomfort. You don't pretend you're okay so you don't scare them off. Protecting your heart means you love yourself enough to pull back when someone else does. And here's the truth most women don't want to face. Trying to prove your worth is rooted in the fear that you're not enough. That fear makes you chase, overextend, and give parts of yourself away that shouldn't be negotiable. But a woman who protects her heart operates from a place of knowing she asks enough. She's not intimidated by distance. She's not threatened by silence. She's not shaken by a shift in his energy. She knows who she is, and she knows what she brings to the table. A woman who protects her heart also understands the difference between love and attachment. She knows the difference between effort and over-effort, between giving and sacrificing, between patience and self-neglect. Protecting your heart means you look at the situation objectively, not emotionally. You ask, is this man showing up for me? Is this connection healthy for me? Is this distance revealing something I ignored? Instead of proving, you evaluate. Instead of chasing, you observe. Instead of begging, you choose. And let me say this clearly. A man who truly sees your worth will never make you prove it. He won't test you to see if you'll stay through pain. He won't pull back to see if you'll chase. He won't create confusion just to check your commitment. When a man values you, he shows it through consistency, communication, presence, effort, and emotional safety. So protect your heart like the precious, powerful, God-given treasure that it is, because a heart that protects itself is a heart that remains whole. A heart that remains whole is a heart that can love deeply without losing itself. And a woman who refuses to prove her worth will always end up with a man who knows it without being reminded. Let him come forward or let him go, but don't go backwards. There comes a moment in every woman's journey when she must make a decision that defines her worth, not to him, but to herself. This is the moment when you choose whether you will stand still and allow a man to rise to your level, or whether you will keep walking backward into the same pain you once fought to escape. This key point is about strength, clarity, and emotional self-protection. It's the moment where you stop negotiating with your own soul. When a man pulls away, becomes inconsistent, or goes quiet, your first instinct may be to chase clarity, to chase answers, or even to chase him. But the truth is simple. The man who genuinely wants you will always come forward. And the man who doesn't, you must let him go. Because holding on to someone who is slipping away is the fastest way to lose yourself. This is where emotional maturity steps in. You don't beg, you don't force, you don't rewind the past. You don't dig up old conversations trying to get him to feel what he once felt. You stand where you are with dignity, and you let his actions reveal his intentions. You must understand something powerful. When you stop walking backwards, you automatically raise your value. Why? Because backward is where the old version of you lived. The version who tolerated crumbs, who broke her own boundaries, who tried to save someone who didn't want to be saved. Backward is where your pain is. Backward is where your confusion lives. Backward is where you keep repeating the same emotional patterns in hopes of getting a different outcome. Forward is where your healing is. Forward is where your clarity is. Forward is where your power, peace, and self-worth live. But you cannot walk forward while you're still reaching behind you, trying to pull a man who refuses to move. Letting a man come forward is not about playing games. It's about alignment. A relationship is not two people dragging each other. It's two people walking toward each other. When you stay still, emotionally, mentally, and energetically, you create space for him to make a choice. A man who wants you will bridge the distance. A man who values you will not risk losing you. A man who sees your worth will step up, not step away. But a man who does none of these things is telling you everything you need to know. And here's where the true test comes. Can you watch someone you love drift away and still choose yourself? This is one of the hardest emotional battles a woman can face. Your heart wants to hold on, but your spirit knows you deserve better. That inner conflict is where your growth happens. Because when you release what isn't giving back, you make room for something healthier, stronger, and more aligned with your future. But the danger is in going backwards. And women often go backward not because they're weak, but because they're emotional, loyal, and hopeful. You remember the good moments. You replay the chemistry. You hold on to the potential. But understand this, potential is not a foundation. History is not a promise. Memories are not movement. Going backwards means returning to a place you've already outgrown. It means settling for a version of love that didn't honor your heart the first time. And every time you go backward, you teach him that you are a revolving door, one he can walk in and out of without consequence. The strongest thing you will ever do is let a man feel the silence he created, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of emotional wisdom. You allow the distance to work. You allow clarity to rise. You allow truth to reveal itself. If he comes forward, great. Now you evaluate whether his actions match his words. If he doesn't come forward, great. Now you have your answer without sacrificing your dignity. Letting him go is not failure. It's self-respect. It's emotional courage. It's refusing to shrink yourself for someone else's comfort. And most importantly, it's choosing not to repeat chapters that no longer match the woman you are becoming. If a man is meant to walk with you, he will step forward on his own. If he is not, your strength must be the door that closes behind him. Because the only direction your life is meant to move from here is forward, never backward, never again. Ladies, hear me clearly. You are not fighting for a man. You are fighting for yourself. This entire journey, every pause, every moment of silence, every boundary, every shift in your energy has been about one thing, reclaiming your power. Because a woman who knows her worth becomes untouchable in the best possible way. She stops chasing, she stops explaining, she stops performing for love. Instead, she becomes the kind of woman a man must rise to meet. You are not here to drag a man into maturity. You are not here to heal someone who refuses to heal himself. You are not here to prove you're valuable. You already are. Your job is simple. Protect your heart. Move with dignity and choose yourself boldly every time you feel yourself slipping into old patterns. If a man wants you, his actions will make it known. If he doesn't, his distance will tell the truth. And in either case, you win because you've learned how to stay rooted in your self-worth instead of someone else's inconsistency. This is the moment you step into your next chapter with confidence. This is the moment you trust that letting go never means losing. It means clearing space for what's meant for you. Never go backward. Never beg for clarity. Never shrink yourself to be chosen. Walk forward strong, steady, and unapologetically whole. Because the right man won't run from your worth.